For decades, strange lights, shaky footage, and UFO sightings were dismissed as fantasy or error. But recent U.S. Navy patents describe triangular aircraft with propulsion systems that claim to manipulate space-time, hinting at possible anti-gravity technology. Whether these designs represent a revolutionary breakthrough or a sophisticated military deception, the mystery of the so-called TR-3B blurs the line between science fiction and reality. Patents that defy logic. The most intriguing piece of evidence does not come from anonymous witnesses or shadowy photographs. It comes directly from the United States Patent Office. On December 4, 2018, a patent identified as number 10,144,532 was approved with the bland title Craft Using an Inertial Mass Reduction Device. The language may sound dull, but the technical details inside describe something extraordinary. The patent lays out a design for a triangular aircraft that looks remarkably like the UFOs people have reported seeing for decades. More astonishingly, it outlines a propulsion method that does not rely on conventional engines. Instead, the craft is said to use electromagnetic energy to reduce its own mass, creating a bubble around itself that allows it to move with incredible agility. The man listed on the patent is Dr. Salvatore Cesar Pais, an aerospace engineer with ties to Navy research projects. Years earlier, Pais had worked on obscure studies involving the formation of bubbles in low-gravity environments. At the time, his research seemed like an academic curiosity. In retrospect, it appears to be a precursor to the radical concepts he would later propose in the patent filings. The fact that the Navy not only filed this patent, but also defended it against challenges, suggests that the ideas were taken seriously by military officials. Governments do not generally waste time securing patents for imaginary devices. The approval itself implies that resources and research were invested into the possibility that such a machine could exist. The science of impossible flight. According to the patent, the craft contains a chamber lined with a charged shell. By bombarding this shell with high-frequency electromagnetic waves, the system vibrates at extraordinary speeds. The process allegedly creates what Pais describes as a polarized vacuum, which allows the craft to interact with the four fundamental forces of nature: the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force, electromagnetism, and gravity. By influencing these forces, the craft could essentially cancel out its own mass and move without the resistance faced by traditional aircraft. The document goes on to describe concepts from advanced physics, including quantum field theory, gravitational waves, and the Casimir effect, a real phenomenon in which quantum fluctuations produce measurable forces between closely spaced surfaces. The language reads like science fiction, yet it is couched in technical terminology that suggests at least theoretical plausibility. The most shocking detail is not necessarily the science itself, but rather the fact that such a patent exists and was filed under the authority of the U.S. Navy. While critics argue that the technology described is far beyond current engineering capabilities, the presence of official government backing lends the idea an unsettling credibility. A broader web of exotic technologies. The 2018 patent was not an isolated case. It was followed by a series of other filings that described technologies ranging from plasma-based propulsion systems to superconductors that could function at room temperature. Taken together, these documents outline an interconnected vision of advanced aerospace systems that go well beyond what is publicly known. The timing of these patents coincided with a shift in the government's approach to discussing unexplained aerial phenomena. Around the same period, Navy pilots began to come forward with videos and testimony describing objects that accelerated instantaneously, turned at right angles without slowing down, and flew without producing sound. These behaviors closely mirrored the capabilities described in the patents. Even respected outlets such as Forbes began to point out the striking similarities between the patents and the reported behavior of unidentified craft, suggesting that these were not merely the fantasies of overactive imaginations, but part of a larger and coordinated effort to develop new forms of flight. Tracing the roots of anti-gravity research. Although the recent patents reignited speculation, the pursuit of anti-gravity concepts has a long and murky history. During World War II, German scientists reportedly explored unconventional propulsion systems in a desperate bid for technological superiority. After the war, the United States launched Operation Paperclip, which brought many of these scientists to American soil to advance aerospace and rocketry programs. Some of these individuals had already been investigating the use of electromagnetic forces in aviation, and their research likely planted seeds that would grow over the following decades. Later, institutions such as NASA and defense contractors like Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works conducted studies into mass reduction and gravity manipulation. Research papers were published on the potential for electromagnetic energy to influence gravitational fields. Although mainstream science often dismissed these studies as impractical, classified programs continued to pursue the possibilities. The Navy patents, viewed in this context, appeared less like isolated anomalies and more like the latest chapter in a 70-year search for revolutionary flight. Sightings of the triangular mystery. While patents provide documented evidence, sightings offer visual and anecdotal clues. In 1994, aviation observer Steve Douglas reported witnessing a triangular aircraft at White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. His cameras captured an object unlike any conventional plane, and his radio equipment picked up bursts of interference suggestive of high-energy plasma systems. Just a few months later, an incident at Boscombe Down Airfield in England added to the mystery. Witnesses claimed a triangular aircraft had crashed near the site, which was known for experimental testing. Both US and British authorities denied knowledge, but the reports fueled speculation. Throughout the 1990s and into the early 2000s, civilians across the United States and Europe reported large triangular craft flying silently overhead. Unlike earlier secret projects such as the U-2 or SR-71, which were tested mainly in remote deserts, these triangular aircraft appeared in more populated areas. Some researchers believe this was intentional, a kind of psychological conditioning to acclimate the public to the existence of such craft. Others argue that the scale and scope of the testing made secrecy impossible. Whatever the explanation, the sightings grew too numerous and consistent to dismiss outright. The TR-3B Black Manta. Among all the reports, one particular aircraft gained a reputation as the centerpiece of America's hidden fleet. The TR-3B Black Manta. Described as a massive triangular vehicle nearly 200 feet across, the TR-3B is said to be powered by an exotic propulsion system that manipulates gravity itself. According to accounts attributed to individuals with knowledge of classified projects, the craft uses 3 conventional thrusters at its corners for stability, but its main engine is a plasma field generator located at its center. This generator supposedly reduces the effective mass of the craft by up to 90%, allowing it to execute maneuvers that would otherwise be impossible. Witnesses described the TR-3B as moving silently, producing only a faint humming sound similar to electrical equipment. Its plasma field creates electromagnetic interference, making it nearly invisible to radar. Some accounts even claim it can bend light around itself, creating a form of partial invisibility. If these descriptions are accurate, the TR-3B represents one of the most significant leaps in aerospace technology ever achieved, capable of performing maneuvers that defy both engineering and biology by shielding its crew from the crushing forces of extreme acceleration. Secrecy and denial as a strategy. The history of advanced U.S. aircraft follows a consistent pattern. When the U-2 spy plane was first tested in the 1950s, sightings were dismissed as UFOs until the government acknowledged its existence years later. The same was true of the SR-71 Blackbird, which flew at unprecedented speeds while officially denied by the military. The F-117 stealth fighter was also kept under wraps for years despite repeated civilian sightings over Nevada. Even the very existence of Area 51 was denied until 2013, long after it had become a cultural icon. Each time, the strategy has been to deny, deflect, and only admit the truth once the technology is either obsolete or strategically advantageous to reveal. In this light, the secrecy surrounding the TR-3B appears less surprising and more like business as usual. UFOs as convenient cover. Interestingly, the confusion surrounding UFOs may serve the military's purposes by allowing sightings of secret craft to be dismissed as alien encounters or science fiction. Officials gain a convenient cover for testing. Reports of impossible maneuvers can be attributed to hysteria or fantasy, while the true nature of the technology remains hidden. This blending of classified projects with cultural myths creates a fog that makes it nearly impossible for outsiders to separate fact from fiction. The TR-3B, if it exists, operates in this fog, shielded as much by disbelief as by stealth technology. And that wraps up today's deep dive into the mysterious world of anti-gravity aircraft and the legend of the TR-3B. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to explore more hidden history, secret technology, and strange mysteries, make sure to hit that like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.